full 9-iron for him. They're going to go nuts when he hits this thing.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Gather around the table, boys. We have a big one in for tonight. I've had guests from everywhere: CBS Sports, NBC, Barstool, Golf Digest, Golf.com. I've had former players. I've had current analysts, LPGA players, but I have been saving my first PGA Tour player for this show for a very special person I'm about to welcome on. Hailing from Rockville, Maryland, coming off his best professional season to date, a player that went in the last 2 years from 248th in the world to currently is positioned at 38th. The best human being walking the planet Earth with a flat blade and putting a ball into the dirt. Please join me in welcoming into the show the one, the only, my man, Denny McCarthy. What's up, dude?
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on. What an introduction that was. I'm humbled. I appreciate that kind introduction. But I know you've been a fan of mine for a while, and I'm glad we're gonna get a chance to talk here a little bit.
I'm so happy to hear that, man, because listen, you are the bandwagon. You're the conductor. You're the engine. But I feel like I've been beating the drum. I'm like the gatekeeper on those trying to jump on the bandwagon at this point. I'm very protective over Team Denny. Before today, how aware were you of my belief in your success? And do you see any of the stuff on Twitter? How often are you on that kind of stuff?
I've seen it. Unfortunately, I've seen bad stuff, not from you, but everything I've seen from you. Like I mentioned before we came on, I'm on Instagram and Twitter, and I see stuff here and there. It's nice seeing all the good stuff that people have to say about you and the belief that other people have in you. So I've definitely seen your stuff, and I appreciate your support. And big part of the reason why I'm happy to hop on and talk to you for a little bit.
Well, thank you so much. Let's start with I want to start with the ascension, sort of up the world golf rankings over the last couple of years and the strides that you made this past season. 7 top 10s, including a runner-up, obviously, in the playoff at the Memorial. What do you attribute most to the progress that you've made as a player?
I think overall, ball striking in general has gotten a lot better. My coach and I, Brian Cregan, over the last couple of years have put in some really hard work, and we both have a drive to get better. He wants to help me get better. He knows how competitive I am. So we've done a lot of work over the last few years. A lot of it is getting stronger in the gym, doing things doing way more stuff in the gym than I used to. And this is why I like Brian. He's a lot about, he knows that I'm athletic and I can use my hands, but we're trying to move my body properly. And then also a combination of just, that was my 6th year I just completed. I'm coming up on 7 years on the PGA Tour. So the comfortability factor showing up each week, knowing where everything is, knowing how that course plays in different conditions, different winds, certain putts you might have that you that don't break as much as it might look. Just all that stuff, all that course management stuff, combined with getting my game better, and then also just being more comfortable too. So there's a lot of things that have gone into this. I'd say the main thing is I know I can still get a lot better, and that's why that's the biggest thing for me is, yeah, it's great that we get to do this for a living, and the money we play for is obviously amazing. But I've always just tried to get basically as good as I can at this game. And I love trying to get better. And that's why I love this game so much, is because you can always get better at something every day. And it's a hell of a game. I talk to Dr. Attella a lot, and he always he'll be mid-story. I'll just be like, it really is just a hell of a game. And he's right. It is a hell of a game. And I'm fortunate enough to play it at a high level, and I'm excited to see where I can go from here.
Yeah, absolutely. You've always had the putter, which we'll get into later. But the biggest change is someone who pays pretty close attention to the stats and the strokes gain numbers. Is obviously last season was your first season gaining strokes off the tee and on approach. You mentioned the strides you made ball striking. I noticed like a little bit of club head speed increase. You talked about being in the gym before the show. Is that something you're cognizant of working on, gaining more speed, gaining more distance? Do you feel like that is something that players chase too much, or do you feel like that's like the next step in the elevation of your game?
Yeah, I don't do speed training per se, but I definitely, even since the season has ended a couple months ago, I feel like I've picked up some speed. So, I haven't played much golf in the last few months, but I've been doing a lot of stuff in the gym. And when I have played a couple rounds, I feel like even, my call it my cruise fairway finder has definitely got a little more pop to it, a little more speed. And I attribute that to a lot of stuff that I'm doing in the gym, even the movements, I'm lifting weights, not heavy weights, but lifting weights here and there, but also putting stuff in simulating what I want to be feeling in my golf swing. Yeah, I haven't done any speed training, but I am gradually creeping to get faster. I think, I'd say I play at an average length on tour. I might be slightly above average or slightly below, but I'm right around there. If I
Yeah.
could pick up a little more, club head speed, ball speed, I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah, so this is I noticed in previous seasons, you ended up playing a lot of sort of events during the fall, right? This season, I think you've been rewarded with some of your success of being able to have a little bit of an off season here for, 3 months, and the shortest off season, of course, in all of sports for professional golfers. But what is it? You mentioned a little bit of the gym. What is your week like in sort of leading into the new season? Are you playing a lot of golf, or is it more so fitness training?
It's more so fitness training, and yeah, injury prevention. I had a couple things towards the end of last year that were nagging me a little bit, and
Mhm.
stuff that popped up, and it wasn't ideal to play through. It's I was forced to take a little time off towards the end of the year and then try and get it ready for the playoffs, and it just felt like I was like searching for that form that I had a couple months before, and I fought hard. I found a little bit of it at the BMW to try and make a
Yep.
push towards East Lake, but I just didn't quite have. Felt like I was searching at the time of the year where I felt like, man, like I should just be dialed. I shouldn't feel like I should be searching right now. And so just a couple little things here and there that I don't want to happen at the end of next season, because I had such a good year and I just really did nothing the last month and a half of the year, and I barely missed out. A couple events, even like Memphis, is unworldly hot. I wouldn't wish my worst enemy upon playing in Memphis. When we do, it's I sweat a lot, and it's that place is so hot. Like I'm soaked in sweat, like before I even go to the first tee, just warming up on the driving range. So I actually took measures to. I got sweat tested a couple months ago, where you can sweat a lot, but you might not lose that much salt.
Huh.
But I sweat a lot and lose a ton of salt. So I met with somebody and came up with a game plan on what I need to be doing on hot days like that. Like Memphis was like a total loss of a week for me. I think I might have finished last or tied for last. And I didn't feel like I, played that bad. I didn't play great, but it was like I just got so beat up in the heat where I was like, man, this is an important year or important week. The points quadruple this week. I have one bad week and I plummet 10 spots. I would go from like
Mhm.
26 or 7 in the FedEx Cup to like 35. And it's like, man, I have one bad week and I dropped 10 spots like with the quadruple points. So I don't want that to happen again. So there's things like that, things in my body that were nagging me that I've taken steps to fix, and hopefully my body, um, hopefully I have already seen those improvements. It's different when you start traveling week to week and playing tournament golf, but um, you know, body is a big thing. If you want it to, we play a lot of golf and we travel a lot. You want it to hold up throughout the year, so you're feeling good all year.
So the big thing down here, sort of in our area, and I drove by it a few days ago, is the sort of build out and the launch of the TGL League. We have a separate golf league with several players left for. It just seems like there's so much changing, right? There's these influx of YouTube golf. I don't know if you even follow it at all, but there's kids down here in this area getting millions of views just playing golf. The amount of people I heard recently playing on like Top Golf and simulators has now outweighed the amount of people going out and actually playing golf. How aware are like the players in trying to adapt and become? It felt like golfers in a sense at one point in time were very protective of their brand, and now it seems I see more and more guys kind of coming out of their shell and willing to embrace. It's got to be a bit of an uncomfortable position because you have no teammates, you have no helmet, you're very exposed and vulnerable out there. But it seems like more and more guys are starting to embrace other avenues of building a brand and building a personality and sort of cultivating a fan base around them. Do you think these new leagues and opportunities are good for players? Is it something that you're interested in, or are you going to leave that to other guys?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? It's like we're trying to reach out to more fans and grow the game and get more people involved. And I think this is just kind of an era that we live in now, this kind of, social media world where it's appealing to people if they see, the top golfs, like you mentioned, this TGL League. I think it's going to be very appealing to people. It would be something that I'm interested in. I haven't been approached with the the TGL League. I feel like every time I do hop on Twitter, Instagram, I see somebody else joining this league.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't know much about it, but it's it seems like they're trying to grow the game and reach out to an audience and get more people really interested in golf. It's something I would definitely be interested in for sure. Like I said, I'm like, I do have a team behind me, and they do a lot for me. And all I've ever tried to do, like I said earlier, is just like keep trying to get better at golf. But and then like these things pop up, I'm like, oh, do I need to be worrying about this? Should I try and like do this? Should I not try and do this? At the end of the day, I think if I just keep trying to play really good golf and see how good I can get, those rewards of maybe doing something like that come along with it. And that's kind of how I view that.
I think a lot more people than you realize, and maybe not being on social media quite as much, are huge fans of yours. And I think what you're able to do, I just think your athleticism is appealing very much to people like me. Like I remember there was a contest at the US Open in Boston, like a locker room contest that you won, and they did a cool little 3-point shootout thing that you won. I know you were a great college. You grew up in Maryland. You got to like have some lacrosse skills, I assume, in the bloodline going a little bit. Are you the best athlete on tour, like all around? If they were to have an Olympics of like 10 sports, are you winning that thing?
I don't want to say that for sure. I feel like I could be in the running. It depends what 10 things you pick. If you pick me running it up the middle against, Gary Woodland and a couple other guys, I'm probably going to get smoked. I like to do like I did all those things growing up. Like I played basketball all through high school. Absolutely loved basketball. I knew it wasn't gonna, being 5'8", I'm not going anywhere in basketball past high school. Baseball I gave up in 8th grade, but I still I've like the World Series. I love watching the World Series. I pitched, so like I like getting inside the brain of a batter or a pitcher. Like what's the batter thinking he's going to throw here? What's the pitcher trying to throw here in this count? So like I love all types of sports and situations, just the competitor in me. Yeah, I love the things that we've set up, like shooting basketball is the thing at the US Open. Ping pong when
That's what
it's
I'm
set up.
thinking.
I
Exactly. I'm
love
not
I
thinking like
love that
football. I'm
stuff.
thinking like darts,
Yeah,
pool, ping pong,
yeah,
cornhole, like these type of
yeah.
games. I think
That,
shuffleboard, maybe.
that's right up my alley. I have in my house here. I have a dartboard. I have cornhole set up. I've got like the ring toss the tiki toss where you try and swing the hook on there. Like
You're
I love
dialed.
all that stuff. I love that stuff. Ping pong too. Like I haven't played much in a while, but I grew up playing like a lot of tennis and ping pong. My brother and we'd had some epic ping pong battles in my parents' basement. I mean, we were 2019 game point, whoever loses, I mean, like the good chance a paddle is getting thrown across the table at the other person. Like we were very fiery, very competitive. You mentioned lacrosse. Like I have two younger
Yeah.
sisters that played D1 lacrosse, and my older brother played D1 golf. So we have four D1 athletes, my parents in the family. So you could probably imagine how competitive we were growing up with all those little games.
I wrote, so I'm sort of shifting here, but I wrote last December, so a year ago, I wrote a big sort of 2023 season preview piece where I did superlatives, who's going to be the player of the year, rookie of the year, best major, all these different things. And there was a section where it was like bold prediction of the year for me. And I wrote, I'm not kidding about this. I'll send it to you after this, but I
Okay.
wrote Denny McCarthy is going to make the USA Ryder Cup team. It felt like you were so close, bro. Did you feel that? Was it like a goal, like something you thought about in your mind as things started to get close there? Is it being a realistic expectation, or did you just kind of keep your head down and keep playing and let things take care of themselves?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like I didn't know what to think. Obviously, I wanted to be on the team. I've played on, a
Yeah.
US team at every level pretty much. I played on a Junior Ryder Cup team. I played on a World Am and a Walker Cup team. And now it's, obviously at the professional level, it's the President's Cup and the Ryder Cup team. And I know all the guys that are, very, very well that are on these teams, and feel like I'm pretty, social with them, like get along with them great, easy going. Team room, playing the games, like I'd love that stuff. And it was on my mind for sure. It's kind of weird, towards the end of the year. I felt like it was, I played with like Zach at the John Deere. I was paired with him the first two
Yeah.
rounds. So I was like, okay, this is kind of like audition, if you will. Like, he's gonna get a look and see how my game is, how I've been playing. So it was a little weird. I felt like I had a spotlight from some people, interested in maybe having me on the team, which is weird. But I like, I like showing off. That's a time where like, okay, like let's show off. Let's show what you can do more so than okay, like it didn't make me timid in any way. It was more like okay, let's show them how I've been playing. Like, just let's be the confident self that you've been all year, and just keep doing what you've been doing. And I was doing that for the most part until kind of had an injury, a low back injury, that flared up on me at the British Open, and I wasn't quite the same after that the rest of the year. And it's unfortunate because I really wanted to be on that team. I felt like I maybe could have helped. And whatever. I mean, the ability for me to make putts and either have holes or to win holes, like that's stuff that I like step up and love. Like I love, those pressure situations where like I want the ball in my hand. I want the putt. I want to make this putt. I remember Brooks even saying in an interview, like not many guys want the ball in that situation. I'm like, man, I want the ball. I want the ball. I definitely want the ball.
Yeah.
And my game is getting to that level where it's like, yeah, I can compete with the top guys. I just want to be a little more consistent week in, week out. I can do it when my game's good, here and there throughout the year. But, you look at those guys like Scotty, it's just like incredible how often like he just shows up and has literally a chance to win every week,
Yeah.
every Sunday. He's like, it's like, that's so impressive what he does. And Rom and Rory, like what those guys do, they make it look so easy. And it's just not that easy to do every week. Victor
Yeah.
Hovland, I mean, like the way those guys just like pick apart golf courses, ball striking wise, is just like insane. Like those guys are just they're machines, and I'm getting close there. I'm not quite there yet, but that's the I want to be able to like hit the shots as easily as they do day in and day out, and that's that the competitor in me is that's what I'm striving for, really.
Yeah, but they want to, like, at the same token, they want to putt like you do. Like, that was my thing going over there is I'm like, you take a guy like Scotty, who had maybe one of the top 3 ball striking seasons of all time, and you pair him with someone like you. I don't know where the analytics department sort of
Right.
sits on this with Team
Right.
USA, but that made so much sense to me. Where's what's your ideal course on the PGA Tour? Like, what's your favorite spot? Is it because you mentioned at the Memorial how much you love, like, and I heard it and I felt it when you said it because you were a little emotional and you're like, I freaking love hard golf courses. And like it
Yeah.
made so much sense for me that like that brings out the competitive spirit in you when the field strength goes up, when the moments are there, you want to be a guy that's kind of down the stretch on Sundays.
Yeah, I would say, early on tour, I would say that place probably wouldn't suit me at all. And
Yeah.
now I've, obviously I've played great there the last 2 years. That's a place where, I guess I don't know exactly what place suits me because I feel like I can, you know, show up any week, any condition, and give myself a chance to win. So I don't know
Mhm.
exactly what my kind of golf course is. That place is it's hard to get the ball close. I would say the harder the better. The firmer the faster. The harder the better. The harder to get the ball close. I'd say, and
Mhm.
hard to hit greens. You have to scramble. You need to think your way around. You need to be really precise landing it. I don't a lot of those shots at Memorial. Um, I'm like, okay, this ball needs to be dimed on the front edge to 4 on, and if I land it past it, it's probably going over. Like the place was just like concrete, especially when you get like a shot, an 8 iron downwind to those firm greens. It's hard to hit it high and soft enough when it's downwind. So it's like, okay, I'm probably not going to hit. I might not hit the green here. Where's the best place to hit this? So just kind of mapping out, what's going to give me the best chance to get it up and down. And I feel like I've done that really well at places like that where it's really hard. And then also your mindset's got to change when you go to other places like Travelers, for example. So we played like Memorial, US Open, and then it's like a total mindset change at Travelers. Greens are softer. You get more wedges, short irons, you get more attackable opportunities. And it's like, all right, let's just go out and basically just like play totally completely free, and you're not thinking about any misses, and like you're just going. And I did a great job of that. It was so I feel like I can play any type of place. But I would say the closer it is to even par, I think that is good for me, where you have to be scrambling and making some par saves, and hanging around par to couple under, is a good score for the day, where you can really move up the board with a. I don't know where I was in the middle of the pack after 2 days and made a couple eagles on Saturday. I shot 4 under, and like all of a sudden I was like, boom, like T3 or 4 going into Sunday, and like, okay, I got a real chance. And so the places where if you shoot a couple under, you gain ground, I think is probably the best for me. But I'd like to think that I can play any kind of condition anywhere.
Yeah, I think you've made huge strides there. I can remember like early on, it felt like easy birdie fest type, like Bermuda, Wyndham, John Deere. But then totally like you've shown up at U.S. Opens, PGA Championships, Riviera, like spots that someone who's sort of on this side of the computer trying to predict things, like it kind of took me off guard. Like this guy can really show up and play anywhere. What's your least favorite course on tour?
I would have said Napa should actually technically suit me, but I had like missed the cut there like 4 or 5 times, and I was like, every time I told my caddy I missed the cut, I'm like, don't ever let me come back here. Don't
Yeah.
ever let me come back here. And then I'm like, then it comes to that time, I'm like, I want to go back there to like prove that I can like play well at this place, and then
Yeah.
like miss the cut. Like, don't ever let me come back here. Like, do not let me come back here, no matter what I say. Man, that's a
Do
good
guys
question.
hate PGA National right here?
I like it because I practice and play in the wind down here all the times, and that I have a love hate relationship with that place.
Yeah.
I
Well,
got
everyone's down here, right? Everyone's practicing in this and nobody shows
yeah,
up.
right.
If
That
there
that
could
place
be
that place is hard. That place is just really hard because the wind
yes.
ticks around and switches here and there just ever so slightly, and there's just not much bailout, especially on those par threes, like 15, 17. You hit it in the bunkers, and it's they're like flat with no sand, and like they just roll to like slightly on the down slope, and there's not much sand, and it's they're
Yeah.
not great misses. So it's like you got to step up and just hit a quality shot. and pretend the water's not there. But
Yeah.
obviously it's in the back of your mind. It's like, you don't want to just piss away 2 shots like super easily. Like, you're obviously going to hit the shot towards the bail side and give yourself a chance at par. And if you make a bogey in tough conditions, not the end of the world. I like that place. I got my, that was where I played Q school in 2000, at the end of 2015. And
Mm-hmm.
that it was blowing. I'm not kidding. It was one of the craziest rounds of golf to get your Corn Ferry card I've ever seen. Like, I shot even par. Guys were making like triples and quads like it was nothing coming in. Like, it was guys that were like way comfortably inside the number and making triples and quads coming in and being outside the top 45. And I started the day like on the number and shot even and finished tied for 8th. I shot even that day and went from 45th to 8th. And it was literally blowing. I'm not kidding. It was constantly blowing 30 with gusts up to like 40. And you just had to like I remember hitting a full iron on 15. It's like 180 blowing in off the right. And I just hit like a smooth chippy full iron that started like 10 yards out in the water and just like drifted back in line. And then I had like a left edge putt, but it was blowing so hard in off the right that I played it like a cup out right, and the wind drifted it into the hole. Like, it was like a left edge putt that I played a cup out right, and it's like stuff you can't. It's like you can't even imagine. My brother and I bring that round up all the time. I played the bear trap 2 under. I birdied 15, 16, and I parred 17, 18. So and I played them 2 under while everyone else was playing it like, 3 to 8 over, like
Right.
just going, like, I picked up so much ground in that closing stretch. It was crazy. I like PGA National. I like it. I think it causes chaos. It causes drama. I think it's good TV down the stretch. I mean, those shots are like, that's what you want to see. You want to see some drama. If
Yes.
somebody has a 4 or 5 shot lead, it's not over with 3 or 4 holes to go. Like, you want to keep watching. That's an event where like you keep watching because
Yeah.
something could potentially crazy could happen.
Yeah, great final 4 holes. So I want to ask you a little bit about golf gambling has been in the news the past couple of weeks. Obviously, I don't know if you
Yeah.
saw, but Florida actually legalized sports betting today. Is now the biggest state, or the state with the most population, to legalize sports betting. It's becoming more and more prominent. Betting and gambling has sort of been synonymous with golf forever, right? The money matches, like you go out with guys maybe on a pro-am day or whatever it is, it's always there. There was, Phil, the book about Phil gambling millions and millions of dollars. And then they just sort of cracked down on these 2 up and coming kids for bets that they placed sort of 4 years ago. The tour, to me, seems to kind of be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. They've got 7 official gambling partners, and there's a little bit of, I don't know. I think some of the players like Max Homa brought it up, I think at Olympia Fields, where he said that some people had said something to him, coming off the course, and he thinks that gambling, they had money on it or something, and it could be impacting player performance on the course. Where does like the general consensus, as someone inside the locker room, like where do you stand on this influx and the continuation and involvement of sort of, gamblers, and is it good for the game or bad for the game in terms of growth?
I think it's interesting. We signed something at the beginning of every year saying you can't bet on golf, so I totally stay away from it.
Give
I
me the
know
rules.
those kids kind of, they placed some bets on, what was it, the Brooks Bryson match,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like something else, like, ticky tack stuff. It's not like they're on the range of their, Corn Ferry event being like, oh, that guy's hitting it bad, I'm gonna, like, obviously you can't do that at all.
Yeah.
But
Right.
it's not like they were doing that. I mean, maybe a little harsh, but again, it is like in our bylaws, you can't bet on golf at all. So like, stay away from it. And when you started asking this question, that instance of Max Homa popped up because I
Yeah.
think he was playing around, and it sounded like somebody had some money against him on somebody else, and they might have,
Yes.
I think somebody yelled something in his backswing or something like that, which is, it's obviously, that's going to be really hard to police. I
Yeah.
feel like, I don't know how, obviously if somebody does that, you can get them kicked out after, 1 shot, but as we know, that 1 shot in golf matters. It matters. So like, if it affected him on that one shot and cost him a shot, you know, that matters. The one shot could mean a lot. Could mean making it. Could be the difference. Say he was in a spot at the BMW where he might not have been in East Lake. That could have been the
Right.
difference between him getting into East Lake and not getting into East Lake. So the you hope it doesn't come down to something like that. That it's hard to police. That is a big thing. It's like, if somebody does something once and they do something like it's just like a no strike or one strike policy, like get that guy out so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
I have had people say, walk in for the next day, like, come on, man, you got this. I got money on you. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm trying, man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm playing for money myself. I'm not trying to lose us both money, man. Like I'm doing my best. So
I think there's always going to be, like in anything else, there's always going to be the 1-2% that are bad apples. In general, I like to think that it's good for the growth of the sport. I mean, people that bet on the game, like myself, and like all the people on Twitter that are sort of in these circles and fantasy players we're also the eyeballs that are glued to PGA Tour Live Thursday at 7:30 a.m.
Right.
You know what I mean? Watching the sport and growing the game. And
Right.
it's part of the reason I have like, you won me $119,000 at the Wyndham like 3 years ago. You have no idea, but it's like, it's a connection that now will like always have you like backdoor top 10 that Sunday. Do you remember that Sunday? You shot the low round of the day?
I do. I think I shot like 7 or 8 under and finished like tied for 9th or something.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. So
And
we're
I was
always
like, I remember I hit it great that week and I missed so many putts on the first 3 days, and my caddy and I played like just endless putting games on like Saturday afternoon, and then like came out Sunday and just like hooped a ton of putts. Like it felt amazing. I was like, finally, I'm like seeing the ball go in the hole, and like it just continued. So I'm glad it was a good payday for me, and it sounds like it was a good payday for you too. But yes, I agree. I think it is good for the game. I think it gets, it gets people more engaged, like when they have something to follow and watch more. Like I love putting a little action with some buddies on like football, like NFL. Like I think the
yeah.
NFL is like really hard to like if I know I'm not doing anything on Sunday, I'm going to be watching Red Zone or something. Same reason guys do like fantasy leagues. Like they get super into the NFL, by doing fantasy leagues. They're putting a little action, like, and I love watching this NFL. Those guys are ridiculous athletes, and it like makes me more engaged to like, oh, I got a little money on whatever, so and so, and like, so it's fun. It makes it fun to watch and like root for something. So I can see, yeah, I do think it's good for the game, but you get those situations where, you can hear a lot in a golf crowd, whereas you don't really hear much in an NFL stadium. If someone's trying to heckle someone in an NFL stadium, you're not going to hear it. But if the guy's right on the ropes, 15 feet off the green, you're going to hear what he's saying.
Yeah.
It's just a different atmosphere.
Like you mentioned, when you're rolling them in on Sundays, it's a rush. So listen, I saw this. Let's talk about the putting. Obviously, we got to get there. I saw a thing with Cam Smith before and Ricky when he was really great at putting a couple of years ago. And they talked about how they were so good. They're at the top of their game and feeling so great with the putter that they're not really practicing putting. I go out to Wanderers Club in the green, and there's guys out there with mirrors and wires and gates and all kind of. Are you someone who actively practices putting a ton? Are you using these sort of instruments, or are you working on other parts of your game because you just kind of know to get in there and be athletic and it's going to be there?
Yeah, pretty much. Like
Okay.
I don't. It's like it's like I wouldn't say like it's almost like shooting a basketball for me. Like I've done it so well for so long, where like I can go out and probably make 8 out of 10 threes from the top of the key right now if I went out and went to go shoot hoops. Like I know it's nice to have that because I know it's going to be there. It's something that obviously I trust and has been a big part of my game. But when I keep the drill simple. Like I do the Tiger gate drill where you put 2 tees.
Yes.
Basically, I hit some one-handed, right-handed, 5 or 6 foot straight putt, and then I kind of just go around the hole. I don't really set up mirrors. I'm always I'm making putts in close to start, just seeing a bunch of things go in, like line, I use the line of the ball. So like lining up right edge, ball out, just, getting familiar, this is what it looks like to be aimed right edge. This is what this is my line is roughly aimed to ball out. This is what it looks like. So I'm really comfortable. And I also just don't like standing in that position for too long, like bent over for an hour to 2 hours. Like, I'll do a couple drills. And then if I'm with someone, like, hey, let's have like a quick, like 9-10 hole putting contest. And like just getting in a little competition mode just gets me engaged where like, I'm doing the same thing as I would on the course where I'm basically, picking spots and getting locked in on just hitting certain putts. And if things get off in my putting, then I'll go and spend some extra time and have, my caddy, Derek, who's been great. He's got a great eye for my game, obviously. Just have him taking a look. Am I hitting this down my line? Am I setting up where I'm trying to hit this? Just simple stuff, but it's stuff that I try and keep putting just like very reactionary, and I don't really like to think about that much. I try and make it like shooting a basketball or something where I'm like, obviously you're picking the spots and lining it up, and I feel like a lot goes through my brain quickly, and I try and I turn it into my own little process, own little world where I'm trying to just like see it and hit it and move on, like really commit to it, hit it and move on, and not second guess myself too much.
Yeah. So the stroke is obviously pretty flawless, but I would say that 98% of the putting strokes on the PGA Tour are all really sound. These guys all have a great putting stroke. To me, and maybe I'm wrong, but to me, the difference that separates your putting is your ability to like read greens. Like that's what makes sense to me. And like, so I go out with the guys and we look at a putt and the guy's like 2 balls outside the cup, right? That's what everyone says. Even a caddy will tell you it's a ball. Are you picking a spot? Teach me how to Denny. How do you read these grades?
The closer in, it's harder to pick a spot because there's not much to pick, but
okay.
The more you come back from the hole, I mean, you can have a field day picking stuff left and right, whether it's just the small discoloration of grass, a speck of sand, a ball mark, anything that stands out in my line where like, okay, I know this is breaking, say 18 feet. I know this is breaking roughly a foot right to left. Let's find something that really stands out in my, okay, boom, that ball mark. I see that ball mark. That looks like it's going to be right in my ballpark.
Yeah.
I like to line a ball up where I tilt it down so I barely see any of the line. So I put tilt the line down. I barely see it when I stand over top of it, but it's pointed at that ball mark. And then I get up over it and like, say I tilted it just low of the ball mark. Say the line is just low of the ball mark. I get up over it and I get up over it, looks good, and I'm like, you know what, this looks like it's going to miss low to me. It looks like it's going to miss low, or it looks like I need to hit it too hard. Because if it looks like it's going to miss low, you're going to naturally, instinctively want to hit it harder because you know that it's going to miss low. So then you can either adjust to it over top of it and aim a little higher, or like I'll tick my line just a little higher, say just high of that ball mark, and then get up over it and be like, this is too high, or yep, this feels perfect. Get in, like, see how I'm going to hit it. I don't like to take practice strokes. I like to like see it from behind and just get right in and hit it. There's just so much for me to like pick. That's why I like putting. I'm not thinking about my stroke and when I'm on the course at all. Like I'm like having a field day, just picking. I'm kicking it between those two. I'm not going to get too perfect with it. I know if I roll it between those two ball marks, 10 feet away from me, that it's going to have a really good chance of going in. And then like, that's what I see. I'm not going to be too perfect. We're like, oh, it needs to start, at the right one, and it needs to be rolling just right of the left one by the time. Like, no, like, yeah, it's like I get up over it and I instinctually feel like, okay, this is, like I said, like if I'm aiming on the low side of that field goal, like it feel like I'm gonna need to hit it too hard. That's too high. Oh, this feels just right. I'm going with this. And sometimes if the line, sometimes I won't step back and readjust the line. Sometimes I'll just aim, like say my line is aimed too far left. I'll just aim the line of my putter just a little right of the line, and just So
that messes me up every time.
I know, you just gotta. That's the thing. It's like I I use the line to just get my putter set up, get my eyes basically looking at that spotter in the right
Got it.
direction, and then I'm like totally get out of the line. Then it's like totally, I'm looking. I like to focus on like the line on my putter and where it's aimed.
Hmm.
And so once I get set up in the general ballpark with the line on my ball, I'm like totally out of looking at the line, and then I'm just reacting to if I want to twist it, a touch left or a touch right, and set my body up to that.
Yeah, it's awesome to watch, man. I mean, obviously, statistically, the best putter inside 15 feet on the PGA Tour for so many years in a row. It's funny because like the betting and the fantasy podcast, like everyone has this narrative that there's such variance in putting, and like when you're trying to pick players, don't pay attention to putting. And that's true for most guys. They'll have big fluctuations where they gain 4 strokes putting and then they lose 3 strokes putting and then they'll gain 2. So it is very hard to predict, but your ability to consistently do it inside of 15 feet is unworldly. It's look when my buddies and I have this saying of like dirt, right? So I use it a lot when referring to you. It's a term of endearment, don't worry, but it comes from like pay dirt when we're gambling and you make a putt, you're like that's dirt. But with you, and it's also symbolic of picking the ball out of the dirt, right? When you hole long
Yeah.
putts. So if you were gonna change one thing, maybe consider like if we see you on PGA Tour Live and you're like 2 feet out and you know it's going in, just maybe we'll do a little lip reading, maybe just a that's dirt one time.
I'll give a little like that's dirt. Like I'll give
Yes.
you guys a little something. I'll give you a little something. But
We'd love to see it,
yeah, I
dude.
mean, I like going. I mentioned Dr. Atella earlier, and like I remember a
Who's
saying he
that?
always used to
Is
say.
that like a mental
Doc,
coach?
Dr. Bob Rotella, yeah. So I went to University of Virginia,
Okay.
and he taught there for a while, and now he's a volunteer assistant for the team. But he's a world-renowned sports psychologist. He works with a ton of golfers. He works with basketball teams. He works with like I
Hmm.
remember him telling me he worked with like NASCAR drivers. I mean, he's worked with a whole different variety of people in sports, and he's great. He's been very kind to me. He lets me, I call him every now and then, and just talk to him for 5 or 10 minutes on the phone, and just hearing him, tell a story or like put things into perspective, like put it in a way I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about it that way, but yeah, like the way you just said it, that makes it sound so like simple, and so that's why I love talking to him. And I remember one time he just said it's always stuck out to me. He's like he's like everything else, you play around a golf. He's like when you get to the green, that's when the party starts. That's when you have the fun. That's when you have a ball. And like so like every time I'm like that's when the party starts.
Yeah.
This is where it gets going. Like I love making putts and like getting the crowd going a little bit.
Oh yeah.
If there is a crowd following me, like I play that, like I said, basketball, like Steph Curry. Like I love
Yep.
Steph Curry. I love like his theater, his engagement with like I'm not quite as like boisterous as I want. Like I'm not making a putt and screaming to the crowd like he is, but like I love watching him play basketball because it's like people
Yep.
know that he's probably gonna like if a shot's going up, it's got a really good chance of going in. And like I like to think that like that's kind of like
Yes.
me with putting sometimes is like
It is.
I want to give these people like something to watch. I want to bury this 38 footer. Like I want to bury this and like do something cool for them.
Dirt.
And so I've taken yeah, it's dirt. It's dirt. I've taken a lot of inspiration from Steph Curry, and I'd like to. I know he's a stick too. I'd like to play with him and possibly shoot around with him too. I think that would be pretty cool.
Hey, how'd you do that that little kick flip off the putter off the like toe up? Remember how'd you
Dude, that
do that?
was
Do
like
you practice that?
no, I don't. I don't.
No,
That was
sick.
like total happenstance, like total luck. Like
Really?
that was with Joel in the I was so mad actually because
In the Zurich, right?
Joel it was a Zurich. Yeah, it was the best one of the best ball days. I hit like driver 3 wood like up in front of this green on a par 5 and hit a pretty poor chip and like Joel had like been doing most of the work that day. I think I'd maybe contributed a birdie or two, and like he was making par, and like this was like I was driver 3 wood, like I should have chipped it inside 5 feet, brushed it in, and moved on. That was our birdie for the hole. I hit a poor chip to 12, 14 feet. and like just really wanted to make this putt. Didn't hit a great putt, so like he was already in for par, and I was just like so mad walking by the hole, and I just smacked the ball into my foot, and it just popped up perfectly. Like if you watch the video, I'm not like planning on like scoot like I don't have my left hand ready. It's just like I just like smacked it against my foot, and like the ball just popped up, and I was like, oh, I'll just scoop it with my left hand. Like it was total luck. And
Okay.
it's been hard to recreate. Let's put it that way. I've tried it
Yeah.
a few more times after that. It just so happened the first time was the charm on that.
Listen, you have been so generous, and I thank you so much for your time. Last question before we get out of here. You know, goals for 2024. Like, what's the like? You're so close, man, and I believe in it, and I know you believe in it. And like, the door is right there. It's just once you kick it down, I feel like the floodgates are gonna open. What else do you have outside? Like, are you putting everything, all eggs in the basket of like just win, or do you have like like I think of Justin Thomas, like with the notes app and all these different goals that we want to hit. Are you that type of person, or are you just solely
I've
focused on
no,
doing whatever it takes to win?
Yeah, I've just solely what it takes to keep getting better, really.
Hmm.
But yes,
Yeah,
that's. I mean, I don't really have set goals because I feel like they can change quickly. So I don't wanna limit myself to something. Um, I've been knocking on the door of winning a tournament. Obviously, the last couple of years hasn't happened. I've been knocking on the door making it to East Lake the last couple of years, and it hasn't happened. So I would say those are two things that I would like to have happen, but that it just comes along. I know if I fully prepare myself and keep getting better, like I feel like I can do those things. Those aren't unattainable goals; those are very attainable things to do. And then it could be okay. Maybe I win a tournament or two, and then maybe I don't have a goal of winning. I would love to win a major. I'm not saying like, oh, it is a goal of mine to win a major before my career
right.
is over. Like, obviously, yes, that is. I would love to do that, but that's not something that I'm like writing down, and like that's not something that I'm like actively seeking. It's just like I just I just want to keep getting better. Like I'm obsessed with trying to find ways to get better and like see how good I can actually get at this game and like what comes with that. I don't know what comes with that. I think I've been on a really good path with my thought process, and if I just fine tune it here and there and keep rising, I know good things are around the corner for sure.
Speaking of those little games, man, I want to. I'm putting you on the spot here, but one of these days, I want to come up to Jupiter, challenge you in a mini golf match at the place of
Okay,
your choice, the best putter on earth versus me. Maybe give me a couple strokes. I'll donate some money to the Denny McCarthy charity. We'll have a great time. We'll put it on YouTube. You'll get
I
some
love
new
that.
fans. We
That
got to
might
make this happen.
that might be even more up my alley than like actual putting on like real greens because you use those little rubber putters. You get
Yeah,
in
dude.
close those little 5 footers that you don't quite know which way are breaking. Like
Oh yeah, they're opening
putt
up
putt
this
can be.
pop stroke in like a week down here.
Are
Maybe we
they?
do it
I know.
there.
Yeah, I know there's one up in Port St. Lucie, I think,
Yeah.
right?
There's one in Delray
And
Beach opening, I think, next week.
yeah, those things are going to start flying open left and right. I feel like it's going to be like I don't, is it like a top golf kind of vibe? Is it like,
No, so
you
it's
come
it's
there,
I
you
guess it's
eat,
2 18-hole putting courses, but they're not like, it's not lighthouses and like it's just like it's Tiger
like
designs. They're just like intricate, like unique slopey putting
legit,
holes.
like, yeah, you can see like, okay, this 20 footer breaks and a couple feet left
Yes.
or right. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
I've never
that's
been.
awesome. That sounds, yeah, either have I, and that sounds intriguing, and that's right up my alley. Game central.
Me too, man. Listen, you have been giving me way too much of your time, honestly. I'm so thankful to you. I will you're very easy to root for. I genuinely support everything that you do and am rooting for you, man, and wish you all the best of luck. And thank you so much for joining me on the show tonight. Have a great year, dude. And I'll keep following along and nothing but the best coming from me and the people who watch this show.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate your support. And like I said, I like doing this stuff so we can maybe when I knock off one of those said goals, we can hop back on and talk a little bit about it.
I'd love to do. I'd love nothing more, man. It's coming. I know it's coming. You keep doing your thing, and you're on the right path. So, happy to have you join me, Denny McCarthy. Thank you so much for coming on Preferred Lines. We'll talk soon. Best of luck, my friend.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.